If you caught the cliffhanger from the previous video, then you'll know that I recently injured my foot. The introduction to this video is sort of a recreation of that event. A lot of the shots that you see in that video, that is post-injury. I'm recording this video for my next video, which is the one that you're watching right now, if that makes sense. With 37 hours of no sleep preceding my injury, my mind was frazzled. I began to wonder how badly this injury would hinder my life. Just as I was getting into a flow for my daily exercise routine, something like this happens that completely arrests that momentum. An old injury in the same ankle from years ago made me worry that I might have aggravated it again. People say things happen for a reason, and I have been a relatively staunch supporter of that ideology. I've experienced several injuries in my life, including a hairline fracture in my arm 6 years ago while learning to ride a motorcycle. Even after recovering from that injury, I attempted to ride a few more times after that. And in all of those cases, there was always some minor incident or the other that happened. Thankfully, escaping with only a scrape on my last time on a motorbike when I once again fell, I vowed never to ride unless it was an emergency. I knew after so many failed attempts that perhaps riding isn't for me. Maybe this was, and I know this may sound cringe, but bear with me, maybe it was a sign from the universe that I shouldn't be in control of a motorcycle. Perhaps these accidents were cosmic interventions protecting me from a more serious or even fatal accident in the future. Regardless, these repeated biking incidents only cemented the idea in my head that these are reminders that dangers and problems exist around us, and that instead of operating in a tone-deaf default state of mind, we need to take control and be cautious and proactive, to take preventative or reductive measures rather than reactive measures when faced with problems.
When I got up to go to the bathroom, as I was hobbling over, I felt faint. I don't know, maybe it was just a head rush or something. But I had to sort of just lie down. I think I really needed some food in my system. I don't know if it's the lack of sleep or the severe pain in my foot right now that's caused this. Did manage to get about 4 to 5 hours of sleep overnight. So maybe an hour more now, and then I'll head to the hospital to check this out.
Nothing's broken. Just looks like a bad sprain. You'll probably have to keep off it for a few days.
He said it could take about 1 to 2 weeks of recovery, and I got crutches so that it's easier to walk around because I can't put weight on my ankle just quite yet. And just to move around easily, I'm just using my chairs that have wheels on them. So thank you to the person who invented wheels. You saved my life. When faced with challenges, we often adopt a defensive stance. While there's nothing wrong with that, it can sometimes mislead us into believing that the situation is more daunting than it actually is. We might dedicate all our resources to this novel problem, which can be overkill at times because, in hindsight, it's often more manageable than we initially thought. Yes, addressing the immediate threat is crucial. But by building a disciplined routine, we can significantly reduce the frequency of such incidents. And in doing so, it helps us better handle stressful situations, enabling us to assess future challenges more effectively and recognize when we are exaggerating their severity in our heads. One problem doesn't always get resolved with one solution. There might be secondary issues that are lurking underneath the surface and crop up in due course. With the case of my ankle, I was able to walk without crutches a mere 4 days after the accident. And slowly, as I regained mobility, my muscle memory from before the injury kicked in. In my complacency, I started using my ankle more normally, which made me realize that I don't have a full range of motion yet. I could move my ankle front and back and put weight on it, but it still hurt when rotated or positioned in certain angles. Think of these as aftershocks following an earthquake. We often address the main issue but neglect the secondary ones, unaware that these aftershocks can be just as disruptive and hinder our progress. And if we had dealt with the initial threat better, then handling the secondary threats could have been easier. An inherent human flaw I've noticed is that we often downplay a lot of negative situations from our life after a while. Perhaps it's a way the brain copes by repressing certain memories and feelings, such as forgetting just how toxic your ex was, which is why many unhealed individuals may return to them and once again be subdued by their mannerisms. Or they carry forward their unhealed baggage into their future relationships. We get so hyper-focused on the positives, deluded by what we perceive as love, that we refuse to accept all the negativity that was present. We don't even realize that we return to our old patterns, having refused to learn and acknowledge from the mistakes of our past, and then it harms us and the people around us even more in the long run. Having battle scars, whether mental or physical, is nothing to be ashamed of. Identifying, acknowledging, and understanding the severity of our problems is the first step towards healing. No one is asking you to cut down a mountain so that it becomes easier to walk across it and get to the other side. Rather, it's about navigating yourself around it, finding a path until the effort becomes bearable and eventually easy. And even if we reduce the size of some mountains to the extent that it's almost easy to walk over it, accepting that they can't all be completely eradicated is also vital. It's our ability of how we overcome our problems that will set us apart from the rest. There's a reason not everyone scales real-life mountains every day. It's an effort many of us are unwilling to take on. But we must face our emotional mountain, or we may forever be doomed to live in its shadow, never to reach its peak and see what wonders lay beyond. My ankle is healing well. While it's not fully recovered, I've resumed daily exercises that don't put strain on it. While I was cleared of any major injuries, the doctor did advise me to go for an MRI to be safe. I also found out from him that the reason it hurt so much and why I was rendered handicapped for a few days, despite it being just a sprain, is that ankles are load-bearing parts of the body, which makes sense. And when you apply that logic on a societal level, you'll notice how people in leadership roles or people who take on a lot of responsibility are always under constant pressure and have high expectations, not just from others, but from themselves. And so I'd like to say, just ease off the gas pedal a bit. Slow down and take a breather before you get so spent that it's hard to recover. A fall from a higher level will hit harder, so make sure you have your cushioning in place rather than just being focused on climbing higher. Remember that you are only human. If it feels like everything is falling apart, it's because a new life will cost you your old one. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.